All right, get ready to dive deep into the greatness mindset with Lewis Howes. You know him from the School of Greatness, but we're focusing on his newest book.
It took him 5 years to write.
5 years. Seriously, what could possibly take that long to write?
Well, it wasn't your typical book writing process. Lewis wanted to really live these principles before putting them out there.
So it was more than just having the knowledge, it was about embodying it first.
That's pretty cool.
Exactly. He felt that until he was actually walking the walk, he wouldn't be the right person to talk the talk.
I can respect that. Makes a lot of sense. It's easy to talk about mindset, but to actually live it, well, that's a whole other ballgame.
And that's what Lewis is all about, action. It's about putting what you learn into practice in your own life.
Right, so it's not just about reading the book and feeling all inspired. It's about actually making real changes. So what did Lewis learn in those 5 years?
A lot. But three big things really jumped out at me from the interview he did with Jay Shetty.
Okay, I'm ready. Hit me with those three big ideas. Number one, and probably most important, is the shift from success to greatness. Now, those words get tossed around a lot, but Lewis has a really interesting take on them.
Oh, I'm intrigued. How does he define those terms?
He talks about how the way we usually think of success, achieving those goals, the money, recognition, all that, it can actually be pretty selfish.
So it's all about what you achieve for yourself, not necessarily about making a difference for others.
Right. And that's where Lewis had this sort of wake-up call. He hit age 30, had achieved a lot of those typical success markers, and
He realized something was missing.
yeah, he felt empty. It wasn't truly fulfilling. And then he saw how Jay Shetty was living his life, focused on service and impact, and that kind of shifted everything for him.
It's about contributing to something bigger than yourself,
Right.
using your talents and resources to make a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. But here's the thing, even with this mission of service, you still have to, deal with life's ups and downs. Like Lewis talks about this time when he was literally broke on my sister's couch. Not exactly the picture of success, right?
So how do you reconcile that with this whole greatness mindset?
That's where the concept of seasons of life comes in. You might have this huge vision for your life, but there might be times when you have to focus on more immediate needs.
So it's like, okay, first I need to get back on my feet financially, then I can focus on the bigger picture.
Right. It's not about abandoning your dreams, but recognizing that in this season, your focus might need to be elsewhere.
Makes sense. It's a good reminder that we don't always have to have it all figured out. Sometimes it's about taking things one step at a time and trusting the process.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the third big idea?
Fear. The thing that holds so many of us back. Lewis talks about three fears specifically: fear of failure, fear of success, and fear of judgment.
He gets really personal about his own struggles with those fears, right?
Yeah. For example, he talks about how his fear of judgment, especially in relationships, caused him to constantly try to please others and abandon his own needs. And guess what? It led to a whole string of unhealthy relationships.
Ouch. That's got to be tough to admit. But I bet a lot of people can relate to that.
Absolutely. And it took him years of therapy and self-work to finally break free from that pattern. There's this one moment he describes working with his therapist, and it's like he had a physical release of that fear.
He literally felt it leaving his body.
Yeah, his therapist said something like, "Lewis, you're not trapped, you're free, you can walk away at any time."
And just hearing those words, it clicked for him.
Yeah, he describes it as this ball of pain in his chest, just unlocking and dissolving. It wasn't about the actual situation changing, it was about his perspective shifting.
So powerful. It's a good reminder that we often hold ourselves back more than anything else.
And Lewis talks about this idea of facing your fears until you embrace them. It's not about pretending they're not there, it's about confronting them head on until they lose their power over you.
Did he give any examples of how he did that in his own life?
Yeah. He talks about his fear of public speaking. It used to terrify him, so what did he do? He joined Toastmasters and forced himself to get up there and speak over and over again.
Basically turned his biggest fear into a superpower.
I love that. Okay, so we've got these three big ideas. Shifting from success to greatness, navigating the seasons of life, and facing your fears.
Right. But there's so much more to unpack. We'll dive into some specific strategies and stories from Lewis in part 2 of this deep dive.
It's interesting how Lewis's own journey reflects what he teaches in the book.
Oh, yeah. Tell me more about that.
Well, around age 30, he had this realization that chasing traditional success,
Money, achievements.
all that, it wasn't really fulfilling him.
Yeah, he talks about hitting that point
Yeah.
and just feeling this emptiness. Like, is this all there is?
Right. And it was actually seeing Jay Shetty and how he lived his life with that focus on service and impact, that sparked something in Lewis.
He realized he needed to shift his focus.
Totally. It wasn't about how can I become successful anymore.
It was about how can I be of service?
Exactly. And that shift right there, that's the heart of the greatness mindset. But even when your mission is about serving others, you still got to navigate the realities of life.
Oh, absolutely.
Lewis talks about that time when he was broke on my sister's couch. Doesn't exactly scream success, does it?
Not really, no.
Oh.
So how does that fit in with the whole greatness mindset idea?
Well, that's where the seasons of life come in.
Okay.
You might have this big vision for your life, but there will probably be times when you have to just focus on what's right in front of you.
Like, okay, step one, get a roof over my head, make sure I can eat.
Exactly. It doesn't mean you're giving up on the big picture. It's just that in this season, your focus needs to be on getting stable.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
He even compares it to, like, trying to redecorate your apartment when it's on fire.
Okay.
You got to put the fire out first. But, even in those tough seasons, you can still find ways to be of service to others.
I like that. It's not all or nothing.
No, not at all. It's about bringing curiosity and joy and a willingness to help to your everyday interactions. Even small things can make a difference.
That's a good point.
It's about what you can offer, not what you lack. So let's shift gears a bit. There's something Lewis and Jay talked about that I think is super important for anyone building a career or business.
Okay, I'm listening.
Networking.
Networking. The dreaded word.
Right. But Lewis has this great story about his early networking days back when he was in his 20s. He was surrounded by all these people who were older, more experienced, more successful than him.
I can imagine that being intimidating.
Totally. But you know what he did? He didn't try to prove himself or impress them.
He didn't?
Nope. Instead, he focused on asking genuine questions and showing a real interest in what they had to say.
So basically the opposite of that guy who's always trying to one-up everyone.
Yeah, exactly. He realized that his curiosity, his genuine interest in other people, that was his asset.
And it worked.
It did. People responded to that. They saw him as interesting because he was interested in them. It's a good lesson for all of us.
So it's not about putting on a show or trying to be someone you're not.
Right. Just be curious. Be yourself.
Be authentic. Let those connections happen organically. Makes sense.
And this actually ties into something else Lewis talks about. Identifying your invisible assets. These are the skills and qualities that you might not even realize you have.
Oh, like what?
Well, think about what you're naturally good at, what energizes you, what comes easily to you. Those are often the things we take for granted, but they can be super valuable.
Okay, I like that. So we've talked about shifting to a service mindset, navigating those seasons of life, and leveraging your invisible assets.
Mm-hmm. But there's one more piece we can't ignore.
That big, scary word.
You got it. Fear. And Lewis believes that a lot of our fear comes from a deep down belief that we're just not enough.
Not smart enough, not talented enough, not lovable enough.
Exactly. And he really emphasizes the importance of acknowledging past experiences that might have contributed to those beliefs.
So healing those wounds, learning to accept ourselves and love ourselves fully.
Yes. Because when you truly believe that you are enough, just as you are, that's when those fears start to lose their power.
And Lewis has some very specific strategies for facing those fears.
He does.
For example, he talks about his own fear of public speaking, which, let's face it, is something a lot of people struggle with.
Oh, yeah, for sure. What did he do about it?
He joined Toastmasters and basically forced himself to practice speaking over and over again.
Turned his weakness into a strength.
Exactly. It's inspiring, right?
It is. It shows that we don't have to let our fears control us. We can choose to face them and challenge them and eventually overcome them. And what I love about Lewis is he doesn't just talk about this stuff theoretically.
He shares his own experiences.
Yes, the struggles, the setbacks, everything. It makes him so relatable.
It's like he's right there in the trenches with us.
Exactly. And that vulnerability is what makes his message so powerful. He's not preaching from some pedestal. Now, in addition to all that, Lewis gives us a really practical framework for figuring out your passions.
Okay, I'm all about practical. Tell me more.
He calls it the 3 Ps. And this is where things get real for people who are listening, thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but how do I actually do it?
So break it down for us. What are the 3 Ps?
All right, so the 3 Ps. It's all about finding that sweet spot where your passion, your power, and a problem in the world all come together.
Okay, let's break it down. First up, passion.
Right. What are you really excited about? What makes you lose track of time?
What would you do? even if you weren't getting paid for it.
Exactly. It's about tapping into that inner drive, the thing that lights you up inside. And then we look at power. What are you naturally good at?
This is where those invisible assets come in, right?
Yeah. What comes easily to you? The things you don't even think about because they feel so natural, those are often your greatest strengths.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got passion, we've got power.
Hmm.
What's the third P?
Problem. What problem in the world we're passionate about solving? What change do you want to see?
So it's not just about personal fulfillment. It's about using your passion and your power to make a real difference.
Right. It's about taking something you're passionate about, something you're good at, and finding a way to use it to solve a problem that matters to you.
I like that. So find your passion, figure out your power, and then pinpoint the problem you want to solve.
Exactly. And Lewis emphasizes that you don't have to have all the answers right away. It's a process. You might need to experiment, try different things, refine your path as you go. Remember those seasons of life.
Right. It's all about adapting and evolving. This whole conversation has got me thinking about those times when, even with the best intentions, things don't go as planned.
It happens to all of us.
Lewis actually shares a story about his volleyball career that I found really inspiring. He played for the U.S. national team for years, dedicated his life to making it to the Olympics.
And?
He didn't make it.
Wow. That must have been tough.
You'd think so, right? But his perspective on it was amazing. He said, I didn't accomplish the dream, but it was still a dream come true. He chose to focus on the incredible experiences he had, the friendships he made, the personal growth.
He didn't dwell on what he didn't achieve. He focused on what he gained from the experience. I love that.
Me too. It's a good reminder that the journey itself can be incredibly rewarding, even if we don't reach the exact destination we had in mind.
So true. There's another story Lewis tells that really exemplifies the greatness mindset. It's about his private coaching practice. He charges a fee for his time, but the entire fee goes to a charity of the client's choice.
Wait, seriously? That's incredible.
Yeah. He realized that sometimes money can get in the way of genuine connection and service, so he just took it out of the equation.
Wow. That's really walking the walk.
It is. It creates a more heart-centered space for his clients to grow and give back at the same time.
I love that. Okay, before we wrap up, I have to ask you about one of the more practical things Lewis talks about, visualization.
Ah, yes. The power of visualization. Lewis is a big believer in that.
I know some people are skeptical, but he makes a good case for it.
He does. It's about creating a clear vision for your future. Not just dreaming about it, but really seeing it, feeling it, believing it, as if it's already happening.
He even suggests writing down your goals and reviewing them regularly, right, to keep that vision front and center.
Exactly. It's not just about the end goal, though. He also talks about visualizing the steps you need to take to get there.
Creating a roadmap.
Exactly. And speaking of success, there's one last thing I wanted to touch on that Lewis emphasizes. Surrounding yourself with the right people.
Your tribe.
Yes. The people you spend your time with have a huge impact on your mindset and your ability to achieve your goals.
We become who we surround ourselves with, right?
Exactly. So choose wisely. Find mentors, coaches, friends who inspire you, challenge you, support you, and be mindful of the people who drain your energy or hold you back. It's so true. At the end of the interview, Jay asked Lewis a really powerful question. If you could fast forward 1 year, what lesson do you think you'll have learned, and what will you need to let go of? What a great question.
It is. And Lewis's answer was really insightful.
What did he say?
He talked about the importance of recognizing those different seasons of life and being willing to adapt your energy accordingly. The energy that got you to where you are now might not be the same energy you need to move forward.
It's easy to get stuck in our routines, even when they're not serving us anymore.
Exactly. And he also talked about the need to let go of doing things he doesn't enjoy. Not that we can only do things we love all the time, but it's about minimizing the things that drain you.
So refining your path, creating a life that feels truly aligned.
Right. And that's what the greatness mindset is all about. It's not some fixed destination. It's a journey of growth, self-discovery, and contribution.
I love that. So what are you going to let go of to make space for greatness? What step can you take today to move closer to your vision? That's something for all of us to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep diving deep.